whakawā. Tēnā tātou te whānau paramata. Ngati Whare, Ngati Manawa. Nau mai haere mai, tēnā koutou. Nau mai ki te whare paramata. Mr. Speaker, it gives me, along with others, to be able to join and welcome Ngati Whare and Ngati Manawa. And as my taina has already pointed out, I do have to declare not a conflict of interest. This is not a conflict of interest, but I declare an interest. I declare an interest because, as my taina has already said, I am like him, Ngati Whare and Ngati Manawa. And so, but having said that won't stop me from voting in full spirit for this bill right through its stages. Indeed, it gives me great pleasure. I too, like the other previous speakers, want to pause for a moment to acknowledge that outstanding leader, Bill Bird. I attended a number of meetings before and after entering Parliament in terms of these negotiations, and it is indeed a great sadness that he is unable to join, to witness for himself this moment, one that he worked so hard and so diligently for. I want to also take the opportunity to acknowledge some familiar faces in the gallery, and in particular Bronco Carson, but also my friend and colleague James Carlson. James Carlson and I played rugby together for one of the great club teams, Maris St Pat's. And in fact, I was just reflecting before I stood on that great team, which I think went 2.5 years, 42 games without loss. And it was interesting because in that team, James, of course, let everyone know that he was part of the front row and that without him as the cornerstone tight head, nothing would have ever been achieved. But also in that team we had other interesting characters that have gone on to take leadership positions with other organisations. Brian Dixon, who's the CEO now of Ngaitarangi. Tu Wiley was our first 5'8". And so it's great to be able to do, as James would say, to be able to stand here and do his work for him in terms of joining to speak to this bill. The bill that in fact is enacting the deed of settlement. I want to also acknowledge my colleague Todd McClay, the local constituent MP who has assisted the Minister in working with the local Ngati Manawa and Ngati Whare people in progressing this bill, and I think it's appropriate we acknowledge him. The reason I had to reflect on my taina is that during the course of his speech he was somewhat, I think, cheeky in terms of talking to the Minister of Treaty Settlements, who has done an outstanding job in getting this bill to where it is. And so I decided that, like all tainas, it tends to be a bit cheeky and a bit disrespectful to his elders. So I have to apologise to the Minister on my relations behalf for his cheekiness. But I'm sure that it was meant in good spirit. I haven't got much more to say. I think that most of it has been said. other than to say that I can assure our visitors and representatives from Ngati Whare and Ngati Manawa that the Māori Affairs Select Committee works very well on and very diligently in ensuring treaty settlement bills are expedited through the Select Committee process, and I can guarantee that this bill will be no exception. The committee is a very collegial one, and we are at one in terms of making sure that treaty settlements gets highest priority in our work programme. So with those few words, Mr Speaker, it gives me pleasure to join others in terms of supporting the first reading of this bill.